it's a fine line between leave webinar and continue. Someday I'm gonna hit the right button. All right. I want to welcome everybody to the Budget and Finance meeting of June 3rd. We are just about halfway through the calendar year, people. I cannot believe it. Let's get the legal stuff out of the way. Consistent with the governor's orders suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and banning certain gatherings such that an in-person meeting of the Budget and Finance Committee is not possible, this meeting will be conducted by remote participation. The meeting may not physically attend. The public may not physically attend this meeting, but every effort will be made to allow the public to view and listen to the meeting in real time and participate when necessary. So, legal stuff out of the way. Welcome to Budget and Finance for June 3rd, 5:30. We have Councilor Memhard, Councilor McCarthy, and myself, Councilor Cox. From the administration, we have CFO John Dunn, City Auditor Kenny Costa, Clerk of Committee Sherry Carvalis, Chief Ed Conley, Assistant to the CAO Krista Carranza, and Board of Health Director Karen Carroll. So we have a nice Brady Bunch screenshot here with everybody. So thank you for coming. Chief Conley, you are up first.
Early evening, everybody.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I'm here today to ask for a transfer from multiple accounts for a sum of money, $64,720 change, for the purposes of finishing out our Gloucester Police Department radio upgrade program.
So I understand by switching to the radios, you guys are going to be doing the radios, the new and the old radios for a certain period of time, calling things over both, and then you're switching 100%.
So this would actually be the 100%. You may recall, actually, then Chief McCarthy received the sum of money from Bruce Tarr's office, and that allowed us, just as I was coming in, and that allowed us to finish upgrading our underlying infrastructure, our radio towers, repeaters, et cetera, and bring us up to full digital. It was still compatible with our portable radios that the officers wear on their belt. However, with time, those portable radios they've exceeded their usefulness. In fact, the cost of repairing them is about half the cost of replacing them. So we're able to use some of the leftover money to buy a few of the portable newer ones. The handout, I think, was about 15 or 20, and this remainder will allow us to complete that switchover process.
Okay. Can you just briefly let us know why you have surplus funds in the two accounts? Fiesta is obvious, but the other one.
So, Council, I was just pulling up. I don't want to go switching back. I only have off one screen right now.
Okay.
You identify those accounts. I know it's in the packet. I just had it.
So overtime account, and then the I believe it's the salaries account.
Actually, due to Fiesta too, right? I think this money is coming from the fact that Fiesta is not happening in this fiscal year. I think that's a significant amount. Some of the salary money is we had an employee who resigned this year, which left us some lag in the salary account.
Okay. Yeah. One of them that is the 25,901. That's specifically from the overtime Fiesta identified account, and the other one was just a salary account. So that makes sense. Okay. Anybody have any further questions on the SBTs?
Nope.
Councilor McCarthy?
No, none. Chief, is the earmark money that we got you put in with Bruce for any of that earmark money still?
We haven't this year. I don't believe there was any to put in for during this past year for reasons.
Kind of a wish list. And all he asked, the reason we got the last one is because I had asked for it in my budget. So I remember it was all prepped and ready to go. maybe just touch base with him because it's just kind of a wish list and we ended up getting some money. So
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that, you bringing that to my attention.
I'm sure Bushy's got something that he wants.
Oh, there's a laundry list.
All right. Anything further from anybody? I think this is a great use of that surplus money from the event not happening. So I appreciate your proactiveness on that. All right, I recommend the city council approve special budgetary transfer 8 in the amount of $25,901 for the purpose of purchasing portable radios to complete the portable radio upgrade program, and I so move.
Second,
Further questions? Seeing none. Roll call vote. Counselor Memhard,
yes.
Counselor McCarthy,
Yes.
Counselor Cox, yes. Motion passes 3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you very much, Councilors.
We're not
Okay.
done yet. We got one more. I recommend the city council approve special budgetary transfer 9 in the amount of $38,825.02 from for the purpose of purchasing portable radios to complete the portable radio upgrade program, and I so move.
Second,
Further discussion? Seeing none. Roll call vote. Counselor Memhard,
yes.
Counselor McCarthy,
Yes.
Counselor Cox, yes. Motion passes 3 in favor, 0 opposed. I don't see any reason why you need to attend the city council meeting, but should there be something that comes up between now and then, I will be sure and let Joanne know so she can let the administration know that of questions or requests. I try to get, if anybody has any questions, I try to direct them to you directly. So that way there's no crazy middleman, anything, but I don't see any questions coming up.
I appreciate that, Council, and I stand ready to attend the meeting if necessary.
Thank you. All right, have a great night.
You too. Good night, everybody.
Night, Chief.
Good night. All right, so next item on the agenda is the Public Health Director requesting us to accept more money. I think we can just go ahead and do that. But tell us what it's for and what you're going to use it on.
Sure. Thank you, Counselor Cox, and to the other counselors. Counselor Memhard, nice to see you.
Nice to be seen.
So this is a small grant for $18,750 that was offered to us by the Essex County Community Foundation, their COVID response fund. They were particularly interested in the work we were doing with vaccine equity. And after exchanging ideas and talking with them, they asked us to take these funds and do some of that work here in Gloucester as well. So our main goal for these particular funds would be through a vaccine unit. We would have our vaccine coordinator doing outreach at the Gloucester Housing Authority is the primary focus for these funds. So we'd be using the staff time to conduct outreach to the high-risk sites, some volunteer coordination for these sites, translation services and materials. It's our intention to utilize the funding to support a partnership with Gloucester Housing Authority to disseminate culturally competent resource materials among at-risk residents living within the city's housing communities to provide vaccine education and reduce vaccine hesitancy. There's no match or in-kind expectations, and that's it. Any questions or?
If you had to put a percentage to the vaccinations already given at the Housing Authority, could you do that?
At our senior housing, and the rates are higher, and where'd we go? Are you guys still there?
Yep.
Oh yeah, sorry. I don't know what happened. So I don't have those numbers off the top of my head. I think Dave Holden had tried to keep track of it for a while, specifically by unit. And I think he estimated in most of his senior housings that he had 10 or 20% of folks not wanting the vaccine. So that was a pretty good rate. The family housing was a different, those numbers were different. We saw a lot more hesitancy there and not as much interest or uptick take of the vaccine. So that's why, in particular, we feel the need to partner with the Housing Authority. They would like us to make sure that the vaccine is convenient for people, and that people understand the vaccine, the risks, the information, the data on the vaccines, and whatever else they may need to know in the language they need to know it.
So this isn't just administering the vaccine. This is education. This is outreach. This is much more than just the vaccine.
This is actually not administering the vaccine at all. If we found a need or a group, we would work with one of our vendors to provide the vaccine. But this particular grant is really for outreach, education materials, translation, and just really having a presence and a partnership with the Housing Authority, using ambassadors. In conjunction with another grant, we would be hiring some ambassadors and a public health intern to really to be on site, answering questions, working with the population there to address their concerns and facilitate vaccine. So if they wanted an on-site clinic on a Tuesday night, we would facilitate that. Probably not actually give the vaccines though.
Okay. I had another question and it disappeared. Council Memhard, any questions? Council McCarthy?
No, none. Thank you, Karen.
Okay. I remember do you have to spend this money by a certain date? I didn't see anything in there about that.
No.
No
none.
restriction.
I don't believe there are no set dates for expenditure to the health department. But we anticipate utilizing it this summer in conjunction with our outreach efforts that we have planned.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you for working with them. I know they're a great community resource. They do a lot of grants. They recently did a bunch of artist grants. So I'm familiar with them, and they do amazing work. I've been going to their workshops for years. So fabulous. All right. I recommend the City of Gloucester accept under Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53A, a private grant from the Essex County Community Foundation and Essex County COVID-19 Response Grant in the amount of $18,750 for the purpose of reducing barriers to vaccine access and developing community-tailored solutions in partnership with local community organizations. There is no local match for this grant, and I so move.
Seconded.
Anything further? Roll call vote. Council Memhard,
Yes.
Council McCarthy,
Yes.
Council Cox, yes. Motion passes 3 in favor, 0 opposed. The next one is another grant in the amount of $125,000.
Yeah, thank you. So this is a mass call grant through the BSAS, the Bureau of Substance Abuse, the Massachusetts Collaborative for Action, Leadership and Learning Mass Call 3 grant in the amount of $125,000 per year for 2 years. And the funding will support our regional youth prevention network. So this is a network of youth providers, including youth through 7 towns. Their aim is to prevent and reduce the use of substances and delay first use among the regional youth through data-driven best practices and expand partnerships to ensure equitable representation across the strategic prevention framework, which is essentially the 12 sectors of the community. So to ensure representation from all 12 sectors in the communities, and namely youth. So it's to address the gap that we have determined is there in engagement of young people in providing youth services, and to provide training and support to those young people to be involved in policy making and strategic planning for youth activities and programs. So this will ultimately result in peer-led, data-driven policy work to reduce substance misuse that can be replicated across the region for strong and consistent policy systems and environmental change. This is exciting, the Mass Call grant. It's a big grant and it will largely support our staff and our youth and our partners, our youth partners within the 7 towns to help recruit and engage youth in a number of different ways. Any questions?
Any questions, Councilor Memhard? Councilor McCarthy?
No, Good stuff, though. I mean, needed.
Yeah. I have one question for you, and that's just, you're coming to a slower part of COVID response. How are you equipped to be able to utilize this money? I know that you have a really good staff, and I know a lot of them were redeployed to COVID response and helping out. So I just want to make sure that you're still staffed at the level where you can take on these grants and produce the things that are necessary to produce with them.
That's a great question. And yeah, so this particular grant, this large grant, is through our prevention unit. So that's headed by Amy Epstein. She's the director, and there are currently 3 staff working with her. Now, during COVID, they were not doing contact tracing or direct COVID care, but they did an amazing job of pivoting their efforts to focus on wherever the kids were at during COVID and the agencies serving youth. So they were very quickly pivoting their resources, grants, and that team to work on things like attendance during Zoom with our area school districts. Their attendance work group has really grown and is doing amazing work. And then the navigator, the mental health navigator role continued to grow through COVID when, I mean, it was an idea that was kind of always there, but as COVID crept up and these kids were really struggling, the prevention unit pivoted again and said, we need to provide this service. We need to connect families and kids, a warm handoff to a mental health provider that takes their insurance, that calls them back within 24 hours and gets these people on the road to a healthier direction. So I am just so thrilled to work with Amy and her team with not a lot of support from us. We were busy, as you know, and you guys were, with the whole COVID thing and what we needed to do as a city to respond to that. But they just kept on, and as they identified gaps and even they continued their planning forward, which is why they wrote so many grants in the spring to ensure that the staff will be there long term. And that's always the challenge with grants. Grants come and they go. But again, Amy's done a fantastic job of finding the grants that all sit within a common mission and vision of what youth prevention looks like. Instead of kind of jumping to one grant after another, she's sort of looking at what's out there and trying to keep her team robust and funded. Having said that, it's always a challenge. We have grants that will be ending in June. We have positions that are half funded that we're still wondering where we will slot them in, if we can keep them on full time. Each grant has a little bit different requirement that limits your flexibility. So it's always our aim, and we're always aiming to keep ahead of that with our planning so that the core team of staff, like in the case of this grant and the youth provider work, it's largely run by our youth director, who Jess Scola. And so we really feel that that position is critical to keep that sustained in the city and regionally, because she now has this relationship with both the youth and the schools and our partners. So that's a complex answer to a complex question. We also plan very carefully that we don't get more grants than we can handle, because we are a small health department. There's only one director, there's only one max, and only one assistant who has to keep up with all the administrative pieces of this. So it's a really fine line of juggling and writing grants, but not writing too many grants, and staying in our lane of what's our core business. So, and I don't know if we always get it right. I mean, we sometimes have more money on one side than we need, and we're looking for something on another side. But that's kind of the gamble you take with grants. I know you're used to grants. But this is a nice grant in that it's a state grant. It's a 2-year grant of substantial funds to really build on the existing work that this team has been doing with our regional youth provider network.
Okay. Anybody have anything further? All right. I recommend the City Council accept under Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53A, a federal grant from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Service Administration and pass through the Massachusetts Department of Public Health, Bureau of Substance Addiction Services, and FY22 Massachusetts Collaborative for Action, Leadership, and Learning Substance Misuse Prevention Program grant in the amount of $125,000. The first year grant period is from July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 22, with an additional fiscal year for FY 23 from July 1st, 2022. My God, and June 30th, 2023 in the amount of $125,000. The total contract max obligation is $250,000 with no local match requirements. The purpose of this grant is to support the Regional Youth Prevention Network to prevent and reduce the use of substances and delay the first use among regional youth, and I so move.
Second. Thank you.
There's a lot of twos in that motion. Thanks, Kenny. All right, anything further from anybody? Roll call vote, Counselor Memhard,
Yes.
Counselor McCarthy,
Yes.
Counselor Cox, yes. Motion passes 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Same thing that I told Chief Conley. I don't have any questions at this point. I don't think that there's anything that could come up that we wouldn't be able to answer on your behalf for the meeting on Tuesday. But if I get questions from other counselors over the weekend, I will certainly let you know. If Joanne doesn't hear from me by Tuesday, that means I'm good to go. I'm confident enough to put this on a consent agenda. So whereas I believe that it doesn't need further discussion. So with that comfort comes, I don't think that we need to see you on Tuesday night, but
Okay,
we,
it's fine
just-
if anything
we'll
changes.
play it by ear.
Okay, great.
How's your shoulder doing?
It's slowly getting there. Yeah, it's slow, but it's improving all the time. So thank you.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Glad to hear it. Well, I'm glad to have you back with us, and we appreciate you coming tonight.
Yep.
Anybody have anything further for Karen before we? All right, have a good night.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. All right, so Kenny, what do you got for us?
Good evening. I trust everybody received the report. As you know, we're getting close. There's only a few weeks left in the fiscal year. So we have 20 items on this report, 4 new items, one in the treasurer's office for temporary wages. I do know that, there's additional help with the, with the beach stickers. So there's been a lot of activity there, so I'm sure that could be part of it. I'm sure there'll be an internal transfer from the salaries, account. Also in police uniform and fire, we did receive from the police and fire that they'll be transferring those funds over to cover those deficits. The majority of the items is like 16 items that are continuing from last report and 3 resolved. This is pretty much standard what the council has seen in the previous fiscal years. And as you know, there's always a cleanup at the end of the fiscal year. We have until July 15th to cover these deficits. So that's all I have unless anybody has any questions.
John, if you want to add anything to that, if there's any questions.
No, not anything in particular. Kenny's right. I mean, this is, fairly typical of where we are, maybe actually a little bit less.
I'm thinking that it's a lot less than where we typically are, mainly because snow and ice, but yeah.
Yeah. So, but again, there's enough unspent money in other places within the budget for this year that we can cover this. So as Kenny said, we'll, put those things forward and make sure it's all covered.
Great.
John, how about
Thank
that
you.
highway account that went from 54 cents in the red to 64 cents in the red? What's going on there?
Well, I actually mailed today 75 cents to Mike Hale.
So you used a 52-cent stamp to mail 75 cents?
No, inter-office.
Oh, okay. Oh, good, good.
Yeah. So, and it was my own 75 cents. 3/4.
Did you tape them down to a piece of paper and tell them to submit it?
Actually, I taped them down to each one of 3 pieces of paper, so he has to remove them individually.
I I know you're joking, at least I think you're joking, but that would be really funny. So, but I wouldn't put it past you either, because you actually have a good sense of humor for, a financial guy.
I think we spend more time talking about pennies than the hundreds of thousands of dollars.
That is
Uh,
absolutely
That's in a
true.
deficit.
Yep, that's
Yes.
absolutely true, Kenny. Yep.
Definitely. All right. Anybody have any further questions for Kenny or John? Seeing none, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Roll call vote. Counselor Memhard. He's not even gonna unmute himself.
Yes, yes.
Counselor McCarthy.
Maybe he
How is
froze
it at
up.
the end we froze? Oh my goodness. All right, Counselor Cox, yes.
I think he's
Counselor
back.
McCarthy, motion,
Yes.
or, okay, good.
Please.
Motion passes. Sherry, turn it off. Oh my gosh. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you
Good
all.
night.
Good night.